Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We pick one vendor or the solution, and we do a comprehensive analysis of that vendor or the solution. And then we have a bunch of stories that we like to cover related to ERP, and digital transformation. So for today as well, we have a bunch of stories that we would like to cover. Before we do all of that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. Phil, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here and Happy New Year in 22. I'm Phil Kerper from Ringling Business Solutions. We help leadership teams align their digital transformation strategy and their business and for maximum success. And wonderful to be joining the panel.
Happy New Year, Phil. It was very exciting to partner in 2021, and we have super exciting plans for 2022 as well. Thank you for being here. Okay, Dave, can I ask you to introduce yourself next?
Sure. Thanks, Sam. And good to see everybody again. My name is Dave Chrysler, and I am an operations consultant working with small business owners and leaders to help them create the systems needed to reclaim their life and grow their business. And I come to you today with more than 20 years in the manufacturing space, working directly with ERP implementations and process improvement. Thanks for having me, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Angela, can I move to you next for your intro?
Certainly. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Angela Thurman. I own Thurman Co. We are a program management, contract management, and supply chain management consulting company in Houston. And we focus on small to medium-sized companies that need these type of services and may not have that expertise in-house. Thanks, Sam.
Okay, it's always super exciting to partner with you. Thank you so much for being here, Angela. Andy, can I move to you next for your intro, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, Sam. Nice to see you all. My name's Andy Pratico. I'm involved with ERP software for manufacturers for about 4 decades. I've worked all over North America, over 1,000 manufacturers, I think, in my career. And I have to say, I'm always humbled by the bios of all of my guest panelists here today.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Andy. And I can see that StreamYard is acting a bit. Hopefully it gets settled. Things have been a bit sketchy overall from the technology perspective. Hopefully the technology is going to be settled and we are going to be settled after a long break. So now we are going to start with today's stories. And the first story that we have today is coming from our friends at Oracle. And Oracle has acquired a giant company, 2-3 weeks back. It's called Cerner. And the people who were connected in the healthcare space, I can almost guarantee that they would all know what Cerner does. And this is a huge, huge step for Oracle. When we reviewed Oracle, one of the things that we had noticed that they wanted to go after some of the verticals where they are going to have the real development play. In my mind, the way I like to define these verticals is going to be slightly more non-ERP industries, which is going to be your healthcare, banking, insurance. That's where Oracle and even Microsoft is trying to move. And this is going to be a huge, huge, huge win for Oracle because number one, they are going to win from the ERP perspective, but they are also going to win from the Oracle Cloud perspective. And this is the similar strategy as Epicor. The way Epicor is approaching the market, they are trying to acquire some of the companies that are really prevalent in the POS space for some of those micro verticals. In case of Oracle, they have acquired a company which was the major market share leader in the EHR space. And the way I like to think of the EHR systems, it's going to be electronic health record, which is really the sort of the point of entry or the sale system for the hospitals and the clinics. And here, once you actually have the front system, then obviously your goal is going to be to sell the backend system. In their case, it's going to be ERP. It's going to be the infrastructure that most of the healthcare companies are going to need to be able to build all of that. So it's a very exciting news overall for for Oracle. It might be slightly concerning news for some of the other vendors, such as Infor. Infor had a large market share in the healthcare space, especially when we look at the ERP play. So now Oracle is going to be grabbing a lot of that market share. Even Microsoft is trying to grab a lot of that market share as well. If you have any comments, we can cover that, but that's the story from Oracle.
Yeah, maybe a quick comment here. And Angela, I know you've got some background on this too, but I was interested when I read this on what that means potentially to a company like Epic. So I'm in the upper Midwest, and Epic is a very well-known electronic records and really CRM product in the medical industry. Angela, is this similar to that, or is this different enough that it doesn't really impact Epic?
Cerner is a healthcare records company that is very broadly utilized throughout the industry. It's, to my knowledge, like the go-to healthcare records software. And they're based in North Kansas City. I have actually a lot of friends that work for Cerner, and this is all of your digital records that, if you think about like your HIPAA requirements, it's all of that digital information of all of your patient portals, everything that your doctors record that gets the billing information that gets translated, just everything you can possibly imagine related to your healthcare and the billing around that. It's huge. I don't know that it extends to like CRM type of data, but I mean, when let's say you go into the hospital and your doctor performs some type of procedure and there are medications prescribed, all of that's recorded, and you might find it available on some type of patient portal. Cerner would have a record of that. I mean, they have platforms to capture and maintain all that type of information.
Yeah, Sam, I don't know, maybe that for another day, just how that healthcare space, because I do think there's a lot of overlap between a couple platforms like Epic and Cerner that might be interesting to see from an acquisition standpoint.
Yeah, Phil, so I'm going to have to agree with you. I think Epic used to compete head-to-head with Cerner, and it's definitely a EHR platform. So some of the other providers might be eyeing for Epic as the next acquisition. So we need to keep an eye on that somebody acquired Cerner. Now the next thing could be Epic. So great point there. Thank you so much. Okay, so if you don't have any other comments, I am actually going to move to the next story, which is coming from our friends at QAD. And as you know, QAD is a very supply chain centric solution. They are primarily focused on automotive. They are really, really strong in the automotive space. And what they have done is they have acquired the e-commerce capabilities. Now, you guys must be scratching your heads that, automotive and e-commerce, what are you talking about? But here, when we look at the e-commerce capabilities for QAD, here we are talking very different capabilities overall from the marketplace hosting perspective, meaning these OEMs will be able to host, or the suppliers may be able to host the marketplace for their supplier base. So this is going to be similar to Amazon Play. So let's read the news and figure out what all capabilities they are trying to bring as part of the QD portfolio for the e-commerce capabilities. That is going to be things like the configurable digital commerce solution designed to provide customers with a personalized online shopping expertise. And this is the catalog that we saw in case of Epicor. They have a little bit of expertise, capabilities there. I don't know if they are going to be providing the similar online shopping experience. I think that what Epicor has, it was really designed for their internal teams. But now the automotive companies are really looking for that external solution, so these companies can host the marketplaces for their supplier ecosystem. The acquisition will help QAD continue to expand its complete customer management portfolio with new capabilities for meeting customers where they want to buy, increase sales, reducing the cost associated with order processing. Web Jaguar's digital commerce solution into its portfolio of customer management functionalities. The transaction will provide QAD's customer with the tool they need to reduce upfront and ongoing cost, respond to changes in supply and demand, and ultimately increase sales. Web Jaguar's solution can fully integrate with ERP system. It will form the backbone of an expanded digital commerce solution outfitted with payment gateways, RMA, catalog management, SEO, real-time shipping data, marketplace integration management, and other functionalities. The key theme from this is going to be really that catalog management, and that's what they are trying to get as part of this catalog, along with the marketplace management, marketplace hosting, and obviously anything and everything that comes with e-commerce. But this is going to be really that B2B marketplace play that not a lot of e-commerce system or the ERP systems have as of today. So this is going to be a big differentiator for QAD in my mind. Okay, if you guys have any comments, I can take those. Otherwise, I can move to the next story. And the next story is coming from our friends at Sage, all the big guys today. So Sage has announced a new acquisition called Bright Pearl. And Bright Pearl, guys, if you are not familiar with the Bright Pearl system, it was a very exciting cloud native, omni-channel retail management system. And it is really for that, the omni-channel e-commerce capabilities that for the most part, NetSuite was the only system that is used to win in this specific space. Acumatica has done some changes to be able to win, and we are going to review all of that because today we are reviewing Acumatica, because of their e-commerce capabilities. But so far, Acumatica cannot really match the omni-channel capabilities that NetSuite can provide. Now, Sage Intacct was never in the product-centric businesses. They were never designed for the distribution business. They were not designed for retail. They were not designed for manufacturing. They were winning in industries such as not-for-profit. They were winning in industries such as public sector. Wherever you are going to have slightly more service-centric play, that's where Sage Intacct used to win. But now they are going to be competing head-to-head with NetSuite. So this is going to be a very interesting acquisition. If you guys are not familiar with Sage Intacct pricing, they charge per entity. That is one of the most beautiful system designed for companies that have a lot of entities. For example, in oil and gas and energy space, those are the companies that are going to have a lot of entities. The pricing is really designed for those kind of companies because obviously when you have 25 or 30 or 80 different entities, you need to pay the price. And that's how Sage Intacct likes to price itself. Now, this is going to be a very, very interesting play in the retail space and how they are going to price the solution. Here they are saying Bright Pearl, which Sage had already, Sage had 17% stake in Bright Pearl before. Now they have acquired it completely. So obviously, I don't know if they are going to allow it to be integrated with the other ERP system. My understanding would be that they are probably going to create barriers for the other ERP system, and they are going to sell this as part of their portfolio, which might be a bad news for Brightpearl because they were winning in a lot of different ecosystems, but now they might be sold only as part of the Sage Intacct portfolio. What else do we have here? That's it from this story. Do you guys have any comments? If not, I can move to the next story. And the next story is coming from our friends at Salesforce. And Salesforce, what they have been trying to do is Salesforce Commerce from the solution perspective. Obviously, that's a very enterprise-centric solution. It used to win in very large companies or the large enterprises, but now they are developing a lot of capabilities in the B2B space, which is very rare, unless you are talking about solutions such as big commerce. And right now, so they are saying that built on Commerce Cloud by ISP partner Accentium, this digital portal for wholesale apparel and fashion companies supports pre-season ordering. Now, pre-season ordering is a very, very, very specific functionality. In-season resupply is a very specific functionality, and fully automated interactions across self-service and sales teams. And now, these are deep feature sets that not a lot of e-commerce solutions are going to have. So obviously, Salesforce is deepening their capabilities in the B2B space, and they are making really good progress overall in terms of adding some of the payment providers, as you guys are able to see here, especially when it comes to their capabilities in supporting social commerce. Now, these are very, very, very enterprise features that not a lot of e-commerce players are going to have. So that's from Salesforce. If you guys have any comment, I can take those, or I can move to today's section, which is going to be Acumatica. Okay, I am not hearing anything, so I am going to brief you guys on Acumatica. And if you guys don't know Acumatica, I don't know what you guys were doing, because obviously it is one of the most popular ERP platform of the recent days, primarily because of their marketing. Their marketing is really, really good. But along with marketing, their product is extremely good as well. If you look at the product, it does not feel as if it is an ERP system. It is really designed for that cloud native development that you are going to see either in case of e-commerce systems or the modern SaaS systems. That is very rare to find unless you are looking at some of the other comparable cloud native systems, such as your NetSuite or Sage Intacct, are the only three cloud native systems. Now, Sage Intacct is very pretty. It's prettier, in my mind, probably than Acumatica. When you look at the system, both are equally pretty and functional, depending upon how you look at it. NetSuite is an amazing product as well, slightly older than these two, so that's why it's not as pretty as Acumatica or Sage Intacct. Now, Acumatica, the way they like to position themselves in the market, they call themselves as true cloud. Nobody likes to talk about this whole concept of true cloud, as Acumatica. They really like to call out the companies that are not necessarily true cloud. Okay. Now, when you look at the cloud, cloud has many different layers. Now, true cloud is very, very, very subjective. Cloud, if you look at more from the operations perspective or from the finance perspective, the cloud has very different definition. If you look at from the user experience perspective, cloud has very different definition. When you look at from the technology perspective, the cloud could have very different definition. The way Acumatica likes to position itself when they say they are true cloud, typically they are talking about born in the cloud, which is true as well, because Acumatica was born somewhere around 2008. They got really popular somewhere in 2015. They also like to talk themselves as the fastest growing, but they don't have as much market share as their competing cloud native providers such as Sage Intacct or NetSuite. Fastest growing is very subjective. They have gone back and forth in terms of releasing the number of customers. Sometimes I think they have claimed before that they had roughly 11,000 or 12,000 customers in one of the public releases, but then they went back. Right now, if you actually look at their website, they are claiming that they have roughly 8,000 plus customers, which is probably the real number that Acumatica has this point of time, which is going to be far lower than any of the competing solutions such as NetSuite or Sage Intacct. And we have looked at platforms such as NetSuite and Sage Intacct. Both of them are growing very aggressively. So I don't know who really knows the actual number from these vendors, and if the growth, if the pitch for the fastest growing is real or not. That is very subjective in my opinion. Now, when we look at the pitch for true cloud, there are 2 or 3 different perspectives that Acumatica likes to talk about. Number 1, as I mentioned, is born in the cloud. Number 2 is going to be the consumption-based pricing. Now, when you look at the consumption-based pricing, the whole idea of consumption-based pricing is going to be, you are going to pay for what you use. Now, there could be a lot of different layers to how you are going to look at that. Okay, so one way could be, I am going to have tiers, and Acumatica has a lot of tiers, and they also like to talk about unlimited users. Okay, unlimited users, when you look at, they are going to say, I am going to give you unlimited users. I am not going to charge you per user, but then I am going to put you in a really small infrastructure. So obviously what is going to happen is you are going to experience slowness, and after that you are probably going to be asking to upgrade that. So obviously it's not as easy as that. I am going to get unlimited users. There are some boundaries. So when you are looking at the pitch of unlimited users, make sure you understand your tiers. Now, coming back to the consumption-based pricing. Consumption-based pricing could be done in many different ways. For example, if you look at the Microsoft, in my mind, the way Microsoft likes to price their products, that is the true consumption-based model, even though they never like to call themselves as either pure cloud or true cloud or the consumption-based pricing, even though what you can do with Microsoft is you can literally buy 4 licenses as of today, and you can take off one of that license tomorrow if you want to. That's the true consumption-based license. In case of Acumatica, what you are going to sign is you are going to sign a very long-term contract, which is not as scalable as you would like to see when you look at the consumption-based pricing. So again, when you are paying attention to the terms such as unlimited users, consumption-based pricing, there's a lot more to it than simply looking at the sales pitch that, hey, I am getting these unlimited users. Also, the pitch of unlimited users is not going to work for every single business. For example, let's say if you are a retail business and if you are paying per transaction, sometimes consumption-based pricing could fire back. You are better off going per user. Okay. In other industries, when you are going to have, for example, seasonal workers, in case of construction, unlimited user pricing is great because you don't know how many people you are going to have, how many people are going to be requiring the ERP access. So for that, the consumption-based pricing could be extremely good. Now, when you look at things such as customer portals and vendor portals, okay, all of that is going to require a license in case of your when you are going to be asking your customers or vendors to be accessing the subset of ERP data. When you have to do that, it's going to be really expensive. You have to sign long-term contract with your ERP vendors. So if your need is going to be off the customer portals or the vendor portals, the unlimited user pricing could be very handy. But keep in mind, when you are adding all of these users, you are putting significant load on your system. So make sure you understand the capacity of your system and allow the users that you really want to be touching your system rather than simply thinking that, hey, I have got unlimited users and I am going to be asking 1 million users to be hitting the system when your tier may be designed only for 100 users. So guys, there is no free lunch. Understand the pricing. Consumption-based pricing is extremely complex to understand. Make sure you pay attention to the fine lines of the contract. In case of Acumatica, it's going to be even more complex. So make sure you understand the contract. Okay, if you guys have any comments, I can take those, or I can move to the next slide.
So Sam, you're saying that consumer or consumption-based pricing, and you talked about the portals like customer portals, web portals. So certainly they give you unlimited users, but then the adding in customers and vendors like that, you're increasing your transaction volume, correct?
You are increasing the transaction volume, and typically the consumption-based pricing is going to be done based on the number of documents that you are going to create in the system. Your tiers are going to be designed based on that. So, when multiple users are going to be accessing the system, technically you are not really increasing the number of documents, because these are the same documents that are going to be created regardless in the system. So you are definitely increasing the number of transactions. That is going to be a significant bottleneck to your system performance. So you might need to upgrade to the upper tier any days. Your system might be slower. So the only thing I'm trying to say is, when you look at the unlimited users, look at it from the system capacity perspective, that your tier is designed for a certain capacity in mind. So if you are going to be putting a lot of load on the system from the unlimited user perspective, you are definitely hammering the system down, for which the tier may not be designed for. Any other comments, guys? Okay, so go ahead.
So Sam, I posted a question in the chat. So if you're paying on the basis of the number of licenses or users, are you allowed to swap those users in and out? So like if you have one employee leave the company and another employee comes in, can you just swap those in and out?
So if I understand your question right, if you are looking for the co-hosting option, where some of the users are going to be consumption based, the other users are going to be named users, that's probably not going to be possible. Now, the second possibility could be you start on consumption based, but tomorrow you want to change it to the named user. By the way, on that note, Acumatica does support many different licensing options. They have the consumption based, they also have the user based, depending upon which model you want to go for. If you go for user based, if you look at their pricing, it's going to be similar to the other competitors that they have in the market. So depending upon what is right for you, you can choose that. But you are signing a contract. Okay, so when you sign a contract, you can't simply swap. Okay, today I'm going consumption based, tomorrow I want something else. It doesn't work that way. Okay, you can probably do that during the renewal time. I don't know if that is going to be possible or not. If they are going to allow that or not, there could be complications. But if you are really sure that consumption-based pricing is not going to work for me, then maybe ask for the named user pricing in the beginning itself, then thinking about the swapping later on.
Okay, thank you.
One quick comment, Sam. A frustration I've had in the past, and certainly clients I've worked with have, is the comparison when you get these different companies with different types of pricing models. In this case, your comments on tiers is very important, because sometimes they'll kind of answer the question in a way, well, if you got to that tier and you're trying to just compare the numbers. So I would say two things: do the work to get down to your last few finalists on ERP and get a comparison. And then the other comment is licensing fees are highly negotiable. They're selling air. At the end of the day, if you think whatever their model is, if they're charging you more than something else, you should be able to negotiate that hard.
Yeah. So the only comment I am going to have there, Phil, is, if the licensing is very complex, I would highly recommend that you work with somebody technical who really understand how the licensing is going to affect the system behavior, the more complex your pricing is. In case of Acumatica, Acumatica has one of the most complex pricing. In fact, if you actually look at their contracts are one of the most complex as well. Okay, so if you look at some of the other vendors, for example, SAP has very, very, very simplified pricing. They don't go in the a la carte model, right? All of the vendors such as NetSuite, Acumatica, Sage Intacct, they are designed to prey on the users that are really early in the ERP journey, and that's why they are following that Spirit airline model. But Spirit airline model is designed for people who really know what they are doing, who are really financially savvy, and most people who are really early in their game in terms of spending, they just don't understand the financial savviness. So be careful with these models is what I'm going to say. Okay, so if you guys don't have any other comments, Acumatica does claim that they are one of the fastest growing. Obviously, they have created significant buzz, especially in last 6 to 7 years. They have grown substantially. They are very well backed with a private equity company. By the way, the same private equity company that also either owns or invests in IFS. So IFS and Acumatica are part of the same umbrella. If you look at both products are extremely slick in terms of the user experience, the way their corporate strategy is. They have similar corporate strategy, and that's probably the reason that private equity company has invested in Acumatica along with IFS. They are also known for one of the highest in user sentiment. Users just love Acumatica because of the look and feel of the product. But that does not mean that Acumatica is going to work for every single industry and the company. Acumatica has significant limitations in terms of what it can do and what it cannot do. So pay attention to the capabilities, especially around add-ons. When you are going to look at the Acumatica solution, you are going to be looking at multiple add-ons that you are going to require to support your functionality, similar to NetSuite and Sage Intacct. And those add-ons are going to cause a lot more problems than the Acumatica solution itself. If you were going to use Acumatica in isolation, it's an amazing product. But if you require 5 add-ons, it could be a nightmare. You are better off using a slightly non-sexy solution that can come as one package, as opposed to using 15 different add-ons on top of Acumatica that are going to provide you the critical functionality. Now, a couple of more comments overall from their market positioning perspective. They like to claim that they are targeting the mid-market companies. But for the most part, if you look at the Acumatica customer base and user base, it is rather small. Acumatica and NetSuite, even though they like to compare themselves with NetSuite, even though they like to call themselves as pure cloud, when I look at the pure cloud, I also like to think that most of the cloud solutions are going to be multi-tenant in capabilities. Acumatica on paper is going to claim that they are multi-tenant, but they are not going to have similar multi-tenant capabilities as your Plex solution is going to have. Their tenants are limited with respect to the base currency. So if you are going to have any of the foreign company as part of your corporate portfolio, they are going to be residing in a separate tenant. They cannot talk to each other. So you don't really have that multi-tenant functionality that you are going to be getting in solutions such as NetSuite or your Info Cloud Suite Industrial or Epicor. They are the true multi-tenant solution where they can host companies with different currencies, companies in different geographies, and they can have all those bells and whistles that we saw in case of Plex, QAD, in all of these solutions. So from the positioning perspective, I like to keep Acumatica in between your, let's say you have the Macolas of the world. They are very single tenant. You have the Microsoft GP of the world. they are very single tenant solution, even though they are going to claim that, you know what, I am not a single tenant, I can consolidate a lot of different entities, but from the design perspective, they are designed to be single tenant. Okay, you have solutions such as Infor Visual. It is designed to be single tenant solution, even though you will see Infor Visual being used in companies that have 4 different entities, which is not supposed to be done. But a lot of resellers have sold Visual to those companies, which is not the intended use of the product. So when you look at these solutions such as Visual, GP, Macola, they are really the single tenant solution. They don't really have the multi-tenant capabilities. Acumatica does have the multi-branch, multi-company capabilities. For example, let's say if you have a company that is going to be having a lot of entities right inside the US, Acumatica is going to work magically. It's going to be a great solution for that company. But let's say if you have those entities in different countries, for example, in the automotive market, where you are going to have an entity in Japan, probably Acumatica is going to struggle. They are making a lot of progress in developing their multi-entity capabilities, but they are not as strong as NetSuite as of today. They are not as strong as Infor Cloud Suite as of today.
NetSuite definitely is the leader in what you're describing.
Yeah, NetSuite has its own limitations, but as far as multi-entity functionality goes, NetSuite is definitely richer than Acumatica. Okay, so here they are claiming that easily integrate the tools and systems you already use. This is probably the marketing hype. Most of these systems are probably going to have similar capabilities. In fact, if you actually look at the user reviews, the customization is not as easy in Acumatica. The development platform, even though they like to claim that they have one of the most versatile development platform, that's not true. It's slightly difficult to use. The reason why developers love Acumatica is because of their documentation, not really because of the development platform itself. Improve efficiency with intuitive and award-winning UI. It's definitely true. I mean, UI is one of the best. There's no question about that. You cannot get the UI or UX that you are going to get in case of Acumatica anywhere else. So if you are looking for purely user experience, Acumatica is the solution to go for. The personalize your instances in a low-code, no-code environment. We are going to review this aspect. Number one, the low-code, no-code claim is slightly bigger in my mind. Their customization is slightly trickier than other solutions, such as, if you look at Infor Cloud Suite, their development model is far easier. Overall, from the customization perspective, we saw this in case of IFS. You can literally configure, which fields do you want to show on the screen that you cannot do in case of Acumatica. Customization is slightly more difficult. It's designed for the smaller businesses. It's not designed for larger businesses. Scale users and resources up or down as needed. Now, this is not true at all. Okay, if Microsoft was claiming this, then I would agree with that. You can scale up and down. But in case of Acumatica, you are really signing 3-year, 5-year contract. Sure, they are going to say, you know what, I can do monthly billing, but still you are signing yearly contract. So it's not going to be as flexible as Microsoft, where you are literally paying on a prorated basis, just like you pay your electricity bill. That's the true consumption-based pricing. Acumatica, even though they are going to claim that they are true consumption-based pricing, that's not true at all.
Sam, you've made a comment a few times about targeting smaller companies. What size do you mean by smaller?
Any company that are not going to have any sort of entities outside of the US are probably going to be good fit for Acumatica when they are not looking for the multi-entity capabilities.
So single country is what you mean.
Single country, multiple entities is a great fit for Acumatica. The multiple countries with multiple taxation, localization, that's definitely trickier for Acumatica. I would say over 100 million is probably a stretch right now for Acumatica. I don't know
Really?
any customers. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So here they are saying that industry's highest number customer satisfaction ratings. Yes, I agree with that. That you are going to see across the reviews, but pay attention to the customer base, what kind of customer base they have. It's really small. The flexible deployment options, public or private cloud, that is true. It's flexible, just like Infor or Epicor. I think they both offer the public or private cloud option. In case of NetSuite, you are not going to get that option. So if you're looking for private cloud option, even as the flexibility later on, Acumatica could be the go-to solution for you. Modern pay-as-you-go consumption-based licensing that can grow strength with your needs. I think that's slightly overstated, in my opinion. I don't think that is true. Ideally, Microsoft should be claiming that. Acumatica, this is not true for Acumatica because of their licensing model. ERP implementations without hidden fees. I don't know how they can claim that, because they are not the ones who are actually implementing that. Their channel is implementing that. So depending upon the partner you go to, you may have hidden fees, you may not have hidden fees. Acumatica cannot claim that. That's not really true. Okay, dual layers of support. Yes, that is true in case of Acumatica. In case of Microsoft, you are probably not going to get that. But in case of Acumatica has its own support, then partner support, but that you are going to get in case of your Infor, Epicor as well.
By the way, Sam, that photograph on the right, that's a nice photograph of you with your glasses off.
Right?
Oh, yeah, you're very handsome.
Yeah. I'll take that, Andy. I'll take that. All right. So moving along here, enjoy flexible licensing that ensures you are never punished for growing. Now, that's a stretch. I think they are talking about the unlimited user option. But as we all know, unlimited user option comes with a lot of different asterisks. So just make sure you understand what you are getting into. There are going to be a lot of storage limitations. There are going to be a lot of bandwidth limitations. So just don't buy the marketing hype. Okay, the customer bill of rights. I mean, they are really proud of the customer bill of rights, but pay attention to the, what they are claiming in case of customer bill of rights. They have mentioned that a readily comprehensible and not frequently modified SaaS end user license agreement. Well, that's okay, sure. But that's not really true, because not a lot of ERP vendors are really going to do that. This may be a jab on NetSuite, because Oracle is really known for their aggressive sales tactics. But if you actually look at or talk to any of the NetSuite users, they are really happy with NetSuite overall. It's not that Oracle is going to go aggressive on their customers and they are going to be changing the contract, the existing contract. So yeah, I mean, Acumatica is saying that, I'm not going to change, but that doesn't mean anything in my mind. A flexible open platform for rapid integration, I don't really buy that. If Microsoft was claiming that, then I would agree with that. Acumatica is not there overall in terms of their platform capabilities. They are not a platform company. In fact, underneath, they utilize a lot of Microsoft tools to be able to develop their platform. So I don't know. Yes, sure. I mean, that's still a very marketing hype. Consumption-based license.
What do you mean by platform-based company, Sam?
So when I say platform-based company, meaning you are not really in the ERP play. Your larger market share is because of your platform. For example, Oracle is actually saying Oracle Cloud. Microsoft is selling Microsoft Cloud. So you develop apps on top of that. Microsoft has a large market share, because of the platform itself, right? Acumatica is not in the platform business. It utilizes platform from Microsoft, from AWS, to be able to, power its applications. So they are not really in the platform play as such. They are really in the applications play. The next point is consumption-based, licensing that does not inhibit, business growth. Again, be careful when you're looking at the pricing. That's the, the trickiest part when you are evaluating Acumatica. Sustainable pricing with annual increases of no more than 3%. They claim that, but I have not seen that with any other ERP vendors either. Typically, ERP vendors are very friendly with their customers. They don't like to increase 5-10%. 3% is probably going to be true with the other ERP vendors as well. Again, this is a sales pitch. It's not really a fair, bill of rights. ERP implementations without hidden fees, I don't really buy that. There's no way they can pull that off because their channel or the partners are really doing that. So I don't know how that is possible.
I don't think any ERP can claim that, Sam.
nobody should be claiming that. And that's not possible technically, because the cost is going to be because of the training, because of the customer's data. So it's not really on to the ERP vendors to consume that cost, because it's really the customer who is the problem here. So I don't know why they are claiming that. Deployment flexibility, again, if you go across the board, you are going to find this option with Epicor Infor. There's no differentiator for Acumatica with respect to deployment flexibility. Ownership, control of their data anytime. A lot of other ERP vendors have claimed that as well, but as we have pointed out earlier, it does not really mean anything. The only thing it suggests is, what, if I'm going to give you data, and if you need to use it, you need to buy Acumatica. So this is the the loyalty model, that if you want to utilize this, you need to have the Acumatica license. So it's rather a sales pitch than having access to the data, because without Acumatica, how are you going to read that data? Because it's really designed in their data model. So again, it doesn't need anything. You could do that with NetSuite as well. If you go to NetSuite and if you tell them that, I am looking for additional NetSuite license for some time because I need to keep my data, NetSuite will be more than happy to do that for you. Okay, the consistent 24/7 customer experience. Acumatica, I don't know, their team size is really small. In the user reviews, we have noticed that their support is really slow overall compared to other ERP vendors. Again, we need to look at that, whether they are really able to provide the same level of support that some of the other ERP vendors are able to provide in the market. Local business
support, Sam, isn't support with Acumatica provided by the partners?
Both. Acumatica also has its
They
own
also
support.
provide. Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, but their mandate is they really want to be the second contact. The first contact needs to be the partner. The partner needs to be providing the support, and then Acumatica is going to provide the support. But from my conversation with Acumatica customers, their support is going to be the slower than the other ERP vendors. And if you actually look at the number of employees that Acumatica has, that speaks for itself, that you don't have as many support personnel to be able to support, because you are counting on your partners to be able to provide that support. The other point that they have is the local business expertise. Again, that's not coming from Acumatica. Okay, local business expertise is from the partners. So I don't know why that should be part of the customer bill of rights. Now, if you look at their their pitch is that they are 100% channel driven. Now, there could be pros and cons of 100% channel driven, because you are completely relying on the partners. They have really good educational program to certify their partners. It's not going to be as loose as Microsoft, where you don't really have the traceability of what partners are doing. In case of Acumatica, Acumatica has very tight control on its channel. So obviously, they have done something good for their channel, but still, Acumatica does not own any of the partners' business. It's up to them how they want to serve the customers. So again, the channel has its own pros and cons depending upon how you look at it. Okay, if you guys have any comments, I can take those, or I can move to the next slide. Here, if you look at the order of the industries, the construction is their go-to industry, but they do really well in the distribution industry as well. They have won a lot in the distribution. They were not winning as much in the manufacturing space. Recently, they have really deepened their capabilities in manufacturing after their acquisition of Jazz Systems, which used to be their VAR. So that's how they have acquired their manufacturing capabilities. But still, their manufacturing capabilities are still lean. They have similar marketing strategy as Epicor. In case of Epicor, we notice that they don't really own their quality module. In case of Acumatica, Acumatica does not own their quality module either. So they are trying to go after all of the industries that are not going to be highly regulated. So pay attention to how they are trying to commercialize. They are trying to go after light manufacturing industries, as opposed to going, because they are really deep in their WMS capabilities, in their distribution, warehousing capabilities. If you look at the solution, it's going to feel as if it's a very distribution-centric solution. It will not feel as if it's a very manufacturing-centric solution. One of the other thing that you need to pay attention to when you are reviewing the Acumatica in vendors such as Infor, each of the products are going to be completely different from the database perspective. The way Acumatica is designed is you can have your construction edition, your distribution edition, manufacturing edition hosted as part of the same solution. So if you are going to be a very hybrid business, for example, let's say you might have a business unit that might be doing construction. You might have a business unit that might be doing manufacturing. In that case, Acumatica is a great solution because you are never going to find these broad capabilities in any ERP system, because most ERP systems are designed for a specific industry or micro vertical. But in case of Acumatica, the way the product is designed, if you are a very diversified business, Acumatica is a great solution. Okay, comments?
Sam, one of the things that caught my eye on this slide, and I don't recall seeing it on any other vendor, but from a marketing perspective, having your current software listed out on there, I thought was an interesting marketing spin on this particular slide.
So I'm not sure if I follow your comments. So when you say your software listed as part of the marketing page, you mean the competitors listed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
by current software. The way I took it was, a replacement.
And do you buy that, Sam? Do you buy? I was surprised by that too, David, that they listed it, but then I wasn't sure that these, having those, even some of those legacy systems like Great Plains, where they're Acumatica, it would be what you would move towards. It seemed weird to me.
Yeah.
Sam, do you think if you had one of these systems, or Andy, do you think this would be an upgrade to those systems that almost seem lateral or even maybe a step more limiting?
The answer is always it depends, Phil. Right. The devil's in the details. I think that I'm questioning the same thing as David's questioning. It's interesting they have like 7 different packages. I didn't go to their site, so I don't know. Is that you drill down to their comparison of those systems? Is that what that does?
So these are their primary competitors, and their goal from this marketing material is that they are providing the customer journeys for their main customers. These are the customers that they convert most often.
They've migrated. Okay, so they've replaced these 7 most often. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and this is their play. I mean, they are not replacing SAP. For example, if you go to Odoo is going to claim that I am replacing SAP, which is strange in my opinion. So Acumatica is really fair in their market positioning. They are saying, hey, this is my play. This is my space. I am not trying to compete with SAP. My space is this. I am competing with QuickBooks. I am competing with NetSuite. I am competing with, they are saying Sage. But if you actually look at the way they have positioned Sage, I think they need to be slightly careful. The way they position Sage, they need to be positioning either Sage Intacct and the other Sage legacy solution, because they are 2 completely different solutions. To your comment,
they have NetSuite on that list, eh?
Yeah, so customers do move, from NetSuite. NetSuite has a very tricky pricing model as well. Sometimes NetSuite could be extremely expensive for some businesses. For example, if you look at the pricing model of NetSuite for manufacturing, it could be very, 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 very expensive. Okay, sometimes the construction companies are going to move to Acumatica because their pricing model may be slightly friendly for construction companies.
That absolutely makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So there are a lot of different reasons why customers move from one platform to the next. So, moving from GP to Acumatica will make complete sense because GP is a very legacy platform. It's a single tenant platform. It's not cloud native. So why are customers moving to Acumatica? Because of cloud native, because of new platform, because of friendlier pricing. It makes complete sense. Why are they moving from NetSuite? They are moving because of, most likely, they are not happy with the way NetSuite is supported, or they are not happy with the pricing model. That would be the reason why they would be moving from NetSuite. Now, they could also move because of the poor implementation. It could not be the fault of the software vendor itself. It could be the fault of the VAR. But they might not be happy with NetSuite because they might feel that, NetSuite didn't work for us.
But it's interesting they have Nav on there as well, right? I assume they mean, Business Central as well.
Business Central is the one that, and we probably hit this long enough, but Sam, Business Central is the one that I can get it that Great Plains is legacy, but Business Central's, kind of that latest mid-sector solution from Microsoft. So that's an interesting one. Maybe to your point, maybe they had a poor implementation, or maybe they're just targeting them as a competitor.
So Business Central is not going to have as deep capabilities. Let's say in case of your WMS, it's not going to be as strong. Financial capabilities may be similar. Business Central is a very distribution-centric solution. It does not have as strong manufacturing capabilities. It's not going to have as strong construction capabilities. So they might be moving from Business Central for those reasons. But for the most part, Business Central is a very cloud-native solution, even though Microsoft never calls itself it as cloud-native. But Business Central is definitely very cloud-native, extremely pretty solution. There's no question about that. But if you actually look at some of the partners that are really implementing the Business Central solution, it could be hit or miss just because of the way the Microsoft channel is set up. All right, guys. So I'm actually going to move to the next slide if you guys don't have any other comments on this one. So now we are going to look at some of the deep capabilities. Some of the things such as deferred revenue accounting that could be extremely tricky in case of your SaaS business, software business. Acumatica does really well in case of SaaS or software business. Those companies are going to have very deep deferred revenue accounting needs. Similarly, if you actually look at some of the project-based manufacturing business, let's say custom machinery in case of manufacturing, they are going to have similar needs as your software businesses. So this need is extremely handy and useful, and that's where Acumatica can shine, even if they don't have as strong manufacturing capabilities compared to your Infor or Epicor. Epicor or Infor may be struggling with these capabilities such as deferred revenue accounting at times. I have seen that with a lot of customers. Okay, that's where your ASC 606 compliance is going to be there, and especially the companies that are going to be very service centric, they are going to have very deep ASC 606 needs, and they definitely struggle with the solutions that are not financially strong, that are going to be your Infors and Epicors of the world. There are very, very, very deep financial capabilities. Acumatica has a very deep financial solution, just like your Sage Intacct, because they were designed to be financial solution to begin with. Then they acquired other ERP capabilities. Primarily, they were the finance solution when they started. Okay. You can create schedules based on the templates or scratch from the this one. So this is going to be really for your field services business. Again, these field services capabilities are going to be they are not going to be present in a lot of different solutions, such as I don't know how deep Business Central is in the field services capabilities. So if your business is hybrid of a lot of field service, for example, let's say if you are doing a lot of HVAC contracting, in that case, you are going to have very significant field service needs along with your distribution. That's where Acumatica really shines. Okay, the intercompany accounting, there are a lot of comments that we need to pay attention to. So here they are saying maintain individual ledgers for each company. That is true, but the company needs to have the same base currency. Otherwise, it's going to reside in a different tenant. They are making a lot of progress in their multi-entity accounting capabilities, but they are not there yet to host both of the entities that are going to have different base currency, different chart of accounts as part of the same tenant. So here they are not being very clear in terms of when you say maintain individual ledgers for each company. Is this company residing in the same country, or is this company residing in a different country? These two are two different things. So make sure you pay attention to that. Intercompany transactions automatically, you can eliminate intercompany transactions automatically when reporting across multiple companies. Again, if you have 5,000, let's say, juice centers in the US, or 5,000 retail locations or 5,000 branches in the US, that's where Acumatica really shines. It is really designed for those kind of business where you are going to have a lot of franchises. That's where you are going to need all of these capabilities. But it's not really designed for those global automotive or the aerospace businesses. They are going to require very different capabilities when it comes to intercompany accounting capabilities. Initiate sales orders from one company that are invoiced. Again, they are not being clear that these companies need to be in the same currency, same chart of accounts, etc. Assign warehouses and inventory to specific companies. Again, this is where my problem is with Acumatica. They are not being very clear, what a company is overall from the company perspective. Is this a company that can share different base currencies? That's not really true in case of Acumatica. Switch between company views without logging in again. In case of some of the legacy solutions such as GP, you need to actually come out of your instance and then log back in again. But in case of Acumatica, you can do right within your application, just like you can do in Business Central. I was on this slide. Due to entries, centralized cash management, vendor payment, customer invoicing. Sure, you can do that, but you are not going to have as deep capabilities as we saw in case of Plex or QAD. They have far deeper multi-entity capabilities that Acumatica does not have as of today. Let related companies share vendor and customer records. Again, pay attention to the word company. Company in case of Acumatica is very different the way it is going to be in case of NetSuite. So in this particular case, if you have the companies in the same country, Acumatica is going to work great. It's going to have all the multi-entity feature, but that's not going to be true if those companies are going to be in different countries. Okay, close financial period by company. Again, my problem with this is, this is only going to work when the companies are going to be, in the same country. Otherwise, it's going to struggle. It's not really designed for those global businesses where you are going to have locations in different countries. It's not really designed for that. Manage financial periods separately for each company. Activate, deactivate financial periods for posting for a particular company. Close books separately. And each company, again, if you had these capabilities as the multi-entity solution, the way NetSuite has, then it would be a great multi-entity solution. But that's not the case in case of Acumatica. Within a tenant, buy and sell services from one another. Once an AR invoice is created in one company, again, these are very multi-entity feature. Those are going to be supported when you are transacting within the branch or the companies within the same country. Different financial calendars is a great feature. Again, if you could support the multi-entity feature in different countries. So again, if you look at the financial management capabilities, they are one of the strongest overall in the financial management. They struggle in their multi-entity accounting feature right now, but they are making progress towards that. Okay, then we have flexible and powerful inventory.
The previous screen, Sam, sorry.
Yeah, quick comment on the previous screen too. Go ahead, Andy.
There it is. The bottom right-hand corner, it says multi-currency projects. Enter project transactions in different currencies and maintain projects in both the base currency and the project currency. How do you respond to that?
So multi-currency is definitely a slightly more basic feature than your multi-entity. So Acumatica can do all of the multi-currency transactions inside an entity. It's not going to be as weird as your global shop where they are claiming that they are a true multi-currency solution, but they are taking some shortcuts. Yeah, so Acumatica there's no question that Acumatica is far bigger than all of those smaller solutions that are going to be your desktop apps, is how I like to define it, right? It's going to be bigger than your Macola. It's going to be bigger than your GP. It's going to be probably bigger than your NAV, depending upon how you like to compare. So multi-currency is definitely not a problem. All of your multi-currency scenarios are probably going to be supported with Acumatica. The problem is probably going to be in multi-entity.
Yeah, Sam, what I was going to say is they went to a lot of detail on this of transactions between company and automatically having an AR and AP align, but they didn't hit the big stuff. Maybe it's on another page and it's not in the deck, but number one, consolidating the financials, and number two, dealing with eliminations. I mean, those are the bigger issues when you have these multiple companies that the accounting team is trying to put together. And I didn't see them even touch either of those topics unless it's somewhere else on the website.
Those are pretty common features in most systems though, Phil, right?
So depending upon how you utilize it, if you are working with a global company, and the reason why Phil is touching on that, because he has actually lived that life. So he knows the pain that goes in actually consolidation. So consolidation could mean a lot of different things. Okay, so here, if you actually talk to Acumatica, they are going to say, you know what, I am multi-entity, I support consolidation, there's no problem at all, I have got you covered. But when you are looking at the consolidation in the same country, it's going to work magically. There's no question about that. Okay, when you are looking at consolidating in different countries, that's where you are probably going to be requiring an add-on, and depending upon how good that add-on is, you are going to be limited by that. So, you don't really have that multi-country consolidation natively built as part of Acumatica. As of today, it might change, in next 6 months or a year. They are really trying to build that multi-entity functionality. But as of today, they don't have that. Okay. Now, when it comes to inventory management, they have one of the strongest inventory management functionality because it's a really strong distribution solution. In case of distribution, my perception is that it can probably compete with some of the SAP's smaller distribution solution. It has got a lot of capabilities, really deep WMS capabilities that is provided as part of your solution. You don't require a separate WMS add-on that is going to be built as part of your Acumatica solution. For distribution companies, Acumatica is wonderful. And it's going to support features such as your matrix inventory. So if you are in the fashion vertical where you have a very complex product mix, where you are going to have a lot of different shapes and sizes, and it's a nightmare to be in that business. For that, Acumatica is a great fit, but NetSuite is going to work equally well because they are going to have all of those features as well. So here they are saying, you know what, you can do define bins, use carts for picking and put away. Guys, now if you are going to go to your Business Central, probably Business Central is not going to have all of these bells and whistles, and you are going to require an add-on for that. And that's where Acumatica is really deep in its WMS functionality. It's in distribution functionality. Cards is a very deep WMS functionality that Acumatica is providing out of the box, as part of their core solution. Set default locations for inventory transactions, such as receipts, customer returns, shipments. That is possible in most ERP systems, as far as I have seen. Use movement classes and ABC codes to optimize. Again, that's a very common feature for most of the distribution ERP. You might not see that in case of manufacturing ERP. They support that. Item management, item creation, and maintenance with sub-items for like products, and matrix items for products with attribute variables. Again, this is a very different business. A lot of solutions such as, Appicore, Info Cloud Suite, Industrial might struggle in these verticals where you have the matrix, inventory matrix, product mix. But in case of Acumatica, it's really designed for those fashion verticals where you are going to have very deep distribution capabilities, but very light manufacturing.
Size, style, color, you mean, Sam?
Exactly. Those are very different businesses. Now, set up cross references between internal customer and vendor items with unit of measure. Now, this is a very unique feature that most of the distribution companies are going to require. If you don't have the cross reference for the vendor, you are going to have significant overhead in terms of relabeling, your warehouse processes. So obviously, you are going to be investing a lot in the manual effort. So make sure that is supported. If you're really heavy in your distribution capabilities, a lot of manufacturing solutions might not have these features. Automatically distribute inventory from a central warehouse to other locations upon receipt. Again, this is a very retail-centric feature where you are going to have the centralized distribution strategy, centralized replenishment that is going to be prevalent in, let's say, wine distribution. So very, very, very distribution-centric functionality. Automate replenishment using min-maxes, economic order quantities, safety stock, seasonality. Seasonality is not very common in case of manufacturing. Again, if you have businesses that require seasonality, Acumatica does really well there. Lead times and other information to minimize carrying cost while maximizing fill rates and churns. Track inventory by lot and serial number. Acumatica really used to struggle with the pre-assigned lots, but now they have, provided that as well. So even if you have pre-assigned lots, but you require an add-on for quality, I don't know what you are trying to do. In my opinion, I think you need to have the quality module first if you are trying to, target those regulated industries. So I don't know if Acumatica is going to be the right solution when you are going after those regulated industries. You really need to, because quality is going to be key in those industries. Non-stock items, there are some key functionality that you need to be aware of when it comes to the treatment of the non-stock items. Non-stock items may be received and returned without the inventory management application. That is typically true in some cases when they don't really have the non-stock items supported as part of the core application, sometimes those applications might struggle with this functionality. Manage complex pricing and discount policies. Again, this is designed for very retail and distribution-centric businesses, so it has a very complex pricing model, which could be, which might not be as intuitive in some of the other ERPs that we have seen with the customers, that they don't like the pricing of the manufacturing ERP systems because it's not really as intuitive. But Acumatica, pricing and discount, again, this is designed for very distribution and retail centric businesses, so they have really complex pricing model there.
So Sam, would a material review board and like a stock review, would that fall into the quality module?
So when you say stock review, I would not think that that would be part of your quality procedure. That will be part of your inventory procedure, because then that you are going to be doing cycle counting as part of your inventory and the warehouse processes. So businesses that might not do any quality whatsoever on the product. Okay, but they will be counting their inventory because they need to make sure that whatever they have in stock, they are able to publish the same quantity on the e-commerce portal or wherever they are trying to sell.
And then an MRB, where you've got product that is suspect quality.
So if the product is suspect quality, then obviously that will fall under the quality module. Now, Acumatica might have some shortcuts that they might be able to provide to support some of these processes, but you don't really have the quality module built as part of the Acumatica solution. You will require a third-party add-on, and that you will come to know. And sometimes with Acumatica, it's even trickier because the way they price, you might never see the vendor's name in the contract because that might be built on Acumatica's paper. Okay, so you will never know who's really owning the code of that specific add-on because everything is coming as part of your Acumatica paper. But if they lose that relationship tomorrow, then they will not be able to control because you don't really own that business or piece of code. So in case of Acumatica, it's even trickier when you are trying to analyze the contract, when you are trying to analyze the add-ons, whether they own it or somebody else owns it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so now they have really, positioned themselves as the native connector. And when it comes to the native integration, they are really going after the B2B play, especially in the big commerce ecosystem. They are making big push just because, NetSuite typically wins in the Shopify ecosystem. They are just go-to provider. Any B2C companies, NetSuite is go-to provider because they can support all of those omni-channel scenario where Acumatica is probably going to struggle. But in case of B2B, Acumatica has far deeper functionality, and that's why they are going after the big commerce ecosystem. Now, if you actually ask them, do you support Magento integration? Okay, on paper, they are going to say, yes, I do. Okay, it's probably going to be built on the Acumatica paper, but they don't really own that integration, and that you can only see if you pay attention to either the documents or the marketing material. Sometimes they might mention the vendor, sometimes they might mention in case of contract. But you need to be really specific in asking, do you own this add-on, or who owns this add-on? Get it on a piece of paper, and then you'll come to know, who really owns the code. Now, improve item picking. Pick for multiple orders at once using wave or batch picking. Guys, wave and batch picking as part of the core solution is a very, very, very strong distribution feature. You are not going to find that in any other ERP system. Okay,
strong
only
WMS right there.
Exactly. Acumatica really does well in case of your distribution. Core functionality that is provided for your distribution, Acumatica is just amazing. There, complete picking from inventory in a single pass. Okay, pack items and generate mailing labels automatically based on package weights. Again, that's a very strong WMS feature right there. In case of other ERP systems, you are probably going to require an add-on or a sophisticated WMS system. In case of Acumatica, that's going to come as part of your core solution. Okay, the Acumatica point of sale. So now, if you actually look at their marketing page, they are going to market that, I have my point of sale, and that's how I am actually trying to support my omni-channel scenario. But if you actually pay attention, it says powered by IIG. Okay, IIG, if you actually Google, it's a company which is really Acumatica's bar. They have built a solution, so Acumatica does not own this solution. That's how you should be reading this. Even though Acumatica is trying to commercialize, they don't really own the solution. Tomorrow, if they lose relationship with IIG, you need to go somewhere else. You need to figure out, what you're going to do next. But when Acumatica does not own that solution, even though they might be aggressively commercializing to win the deals, they don't really own that solution. So be very, very, very specific in asking, okay, if they are using any add-on, or if you see any line items on your contract, be specific in asking, okay, who owns the code for this specific add-on, and get that on a piece of paper if possible. And that's what is going to help you in finding out who really owns the code. And that should be the driver in deciding whether you should be going for that add-on or not. So here, obviously, this is just an add-on. It's just a marketing hype in terms of POS. Even though they are marketing really heavy, that they have the POS functionality as part of the core system. Now, construction is a very, very, very strong module. They are winning a lot in case of construction, to be honest, because of their unlimited user pricing, which is a huge plus for the construction-centric businesses, because you have the seasonal workforce. And if you want to ask your seasonal workforce to use your ERP system, you need to get licensed. If you go to SAP, they are going to ask you to buy for 3 years. And obviously, that's going to be a lot of licenses that are going to be sitting unused, and you are going to be paying unnecessarily to SAP for that. But in case of Acumatica, that could be a huge plus. There are some of the features such as retain age, is a very common feature in case of your construction that has deeper accounting implications. Okay, if the ERP system does not support that, it's not going to work for you. So a lot of companies have utilized manufacturing system for their construction business. Construction business is a very different beast. Okay, so if you are in the construction business, go for solutions like either Acumatica. But again, be specific in asking whether the construction edition is really owned by Acumatica. I'm not too sure if Acumatica really owns the Acumatica construction edition as of today, or it is still owned by one of the VARs. So you need to be very specific, because they have not announced publicly the way they have announced their manufacturing solution when they had acquired that company. They have not announced the same for the construction edition. So be specific in asking who owns the construction edition as of today. That is the construction edition. Now here they are. If you look at their, this is the manufacturing data sheet that they have. They are going to claim that, I can work for aerospace and defense. And that we have seen in case of every single ERP, even if you don't own the quality module. Okay, so again, this is being a little salesy. In case of aerospace is a very different business. Defense is a very different business. If I were the aerospace and defense, I would want the ERP company to at least own the quality module. Okay, because quality is the foundation for the aerospace and defense, and even for automotive. You need to own the quality if you are in the automotive business. Now, when you look at the companies such as chemicals and cosmetics, now chemicals is a very different company. Okay, it does not have the same BOM. It has the ingredients. Acumatica does not support that natively. You are going to be requiring an add-on to be able to support that formula or the ingredients. If you are going to be requiring an add-on to support that piece of functionality, that's your core inventory functionality. Add-on is not cool for that. Okay, go for some other solution. Don't go for Acumatica if you are in industries such as plastics, food and beverage, chemicals. Don't go for Acumatica in those industries. For discrete, it's a different case. If you are a light manufacturing, discrete manufacturing, Acumatica is an amazing solution. Okay, but for the process-centric industries, Acumatica is going to be a bad fit, because they don't really own that process functionality. That's not part of the core solution as of today. Here,
Sam,
yeah,
I would just strike probably half of those industries from that list. Without a third party bolt on, Acumatica is not prepared to support those industries.
You are so critical.
I know.
But she is right as well, to be honest. She's right. And if you actually want to support 50% of those industries, you are probably going to require a lot of add-ons. It will not work. So you're right. Okay, moving along, here you have some decent manufacturing functionality. Obviously, it's not going to be as comprehensive as some of the hybrid manufacturing solutions, such as Infor Cloud Suite Industrial or Epicor. Even though they might not be as cool, but they are going to have much deeper manufacturing functionality that a lot of manufacturing companies are going to require. Here, they are saying serial traceability throughout the item's life cycle with pre-assigned lot and serial numbers, which is probably a new feature for Acumatica. I think they have announced this in 2022 R1. So this is the key feature. But again, you don't own quality. So what's the point of doing the pre-assigned serial numbers? Manage plans by site across multiple locations. This is the MRP. MRP is decent. It's not as deep as you would want for a manufacturing company. Again, it's designed for lighter manufacturing, not for very deep manufacturing. They have the product configurator. The product configurator is probably not going to be as complex as what Epicor has recently acquired, which is KB Max, I believe. And then, obviously Infor has very deep product configuration capabilities as well. It's almost like a programming language. Obviously, Acumatica is not going to support all of those scenarios, but it is definitely a poor man's solution. If you are not very heavy in configuration, you can probably live with that.
But it's optional.
Oh, sorry. It's optional, yeah. But the fact that it says rules-based implies it doesn't include parametrics, wouldn't you say, Sam?
Well, so rules-based could mean a lot of different things. I could have just two fields and, just if condition in those two fields, and I call that as configurator rule-based. But when you look at the real configurator, it has far deeper functionality that you are going to require, when it comes to, your customers to be able to collaborate on that configurator, and then, getting that product as part of your production line. The configurator functionality itself, if you're a configurator-driven business, then you have far deeper needs, which Acumatica will not be able to meet.
You try to do product configuration in the regional airline business, and and then we'll talk.
Sorry, Angela, you are breaking there.
I said, just think about the range of product configuration possible in the regional airline business. It's crazy. I don't think that this is what they're talking about.
Yeah, when it comes to regional airline business, I don't think any solutions are probably going to work except your IFS. But I mean, you are right. When you have very complex products, the range of possibilities that you can have with your configurator is just enormous. It could get very complex. So what else do we have from the manufacturing perspective? They have the native integration with your PLM, but the native integration is done with your Arena. I don't know if a lot of manufacturing solutions can provide the PLM integration for the discrete functionality. Here, Acumatica is going to claim that, I have Acumatica quality as part of my Arena. You can use Arena quality, but that quality is only as part of your R&D processes. It's not really your production quality. So be careful when you analyze this. The R&D quality is very different from your production quality when you talk about supplier quality. Obviously, Acumatica will not be able to support the real, production game. They might be able to support the R&D quality. That's unless you are super heavy in R&D, it doesn't really mean a lot, to be honest. Okay.
I was just going to say, Sam, you hit it pretty good, but it's interesting how many of those features are optional add-ons listed.
Exactly. So now moving along with the service management feature is definitely very heavy. A lot of businesses are becoming service based. So for the businesses that really require that dispatch scheduling functionality, when you have the field service component as part of your processes along with your distribution, especially when you look at the aftermarket business, when you look at these HVAC contractor business, for them, I think Acumatica could be a great solution. It can support a lot of different field services feature that you are not going to find in a lot of different distribution ERP systems. Moving right along. Now we have a bunch of questions. Let me see if I have anything pointed out here. I think we have covered pretty much all of these points. The scheduled maintenance window could be a question or the point to consider during your evaluation. They have the scheduled maintenance window and they have the unscheduled maintenance window. And when you are looking at the point-to-point solution, point-to-point integration between your Shopify and your ERP, your assumption is going to be your e-commerce is going to be up all the time. So when you have the point-to-point connection, okay, what do you do with your e-commerce? Are you going to bring that down as well? Is Acumatica going to go down in that scenario as well? Because your e-commerce is not supposed to go down, because if customers are actually trying to order during that time, then are you going to lose on those opportunities and order? That's why I personally don't like point-to-point native integration, even though Acumatica is trying to sell really hard that I have native integration, but I don't like the point-to-point native integration just for that reason, because of the load sharing between those two systems, as well as how you are going to support your 24/7 scenario in case of your e-commerce businesses. Okay, I don't have any other points. So that's it for today's session. Do you guys have any comments or questions before we wrap?
Sam, I was just going to say, it seems like Acumatica has a lot of really strong points. You just need to be cautious to understand the contract and to make certain that this is really the tool for your application.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously it's strong in inventory control, material planning, and warehouse management. That's obvious with spades, and service management. I think outside of those areas, it might be extending itself.
And I think, Sam, you hit it very well. Outside of those areas, there's a lot of overselling here. Within those areas, they got some really cool functionality, but then when they get outside,
very strong.
They're still making some very large promises, if you will, with their marketing material.
I think, like we typically see from a marketing standpoint, you've got to be cautious and ask the appropriate questions. We kind of hit this time and time again, but it bears repeating because we can do to see the same types of things throughout all of these different solutions. So make sure you're understanding the questions that you really need to ask that are going to impact you from an operations standpoint before you're prepared to move forward.
Okay, guys, any other comments? Okay, so just to wrap, if you are, let's say the US-based business, or your business is based really in one country, US or Canada, and you have a lot of different branches, and if you are really hybrid business focused on either distribution, construction, light manufacturing, Acumatica could be a great solution. Outside of that, you might have challenges, but make sure you are really going to review the contract very carefully, because the add-ons is going to cause the major problems. Acumatica is not going to work in a lot of different industries without those add-ons. So even if Acumatica is pretty an elegant solution, if add-ons are going to cause the problems, what are you going to do? You don't have a choice but to move to a solution that is going to be complete, than buying something that is going to be partly sexy. The other part is not going to be as sexy. On that note, I really want to thank everybody for your time. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series, for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and we pick one topic related to one of the vendor or the solution. We review that and we cover some of the stories related to ERP and digital transformation. So make sure you are not going to miss next week's show. On that note, thank you everybody for your time, and have a wonderful night.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks everybody. Happy New Year.
Sam.
Happy New Year.